Mark Zuckerberg's Twitter and Pinterest accounts were apparently hacked over the weekend. Facebook says none of the company's systems or accounts were accessed, but that Zuckerberg's affected accounts have been re-secured. A spate of massive data breaches at companies, including LinkedIn, has given hackers a wealth of password data to work with. The hacker group says that it targeted him, claims his password was da. I know we've talked about password security before, but it still is relevant, obviously, to Mark Zuckerberg and to me and my parents, lots of other people. So Graham Williams is here, our tech expert, to guide us through this. So in Zuckerberg's case, it appears his password was part of, what, a LinkedIn breach at one point?
That's correct. So that breach actually happened back in 2012, and we didn't really see the fallout from it until 4 years later, just a few weeks ago. That password vault that basically had been stolen from LinkedIn was cracked, and all of these passwords are now out in the wild.
So for his Twitter password to have been retrieved by breaking into LinkedIn, he probably was using the same password in both places?
That's correct, and it wasn't a particularly complex password either, which made it very easy for them to just give it a shot, and it did work.
And so people have sifted through that data from LinkedIn, and I want to show you the top 3 passwords, most popular passwords that people used. All of these fairly predictable and low-tech. And so as you look at that, you laugh.
I do. Well, I'm surprised actually that Mel Brooks hasn't been hacked with #1 there. But with these passwords, this is the type of thing that we absolutely tell people not to do. Don't use your name. Don't use your birth date. Definitely don't use the name of the site that you're trying to log into. And password, that's right out there.
I just spent hours with my parents a couple of weeks ago going through their multiple passwords, because now that you have to mix it up with capital letters and numbers, the crazy number of permutations. So they have them down in a book, but it's annoying. Let me tell you, it's annoying to keep track of that. What's your advice, first of all, in generating passwords that we'll actually remember?
Personally, what I try to do is I try to have sort of a set pattern of things that I use for a password with a variable that makes sense for that site. So, for example, if I was to have a LinkedIn password, maybe I'm going to use my initials. I would start with GW. I would have, something that makes sense for that. So, GW job site and the year that I signed up. GW job site 2011. Okay, that's a good start. Now, if I was to do the same thing for Facebook, I could do that again. GW Social Network 2012, that type of thing.
Now, are you going to remember that, or you're going to store it in a place that's secure?
It's really difficult to remember all of these passwords, so that's where a password manager comes in very, very handy. These are pieces of software where that will have a secure enclave on your computer, so basically a secure file that is very difficult to break into. So even if somebody steals that file, they've got to go through the effort of breaking into that file. You have one master password. Make it something that you can remember, that'll store all of the other ones.
And so any recommendations in terms of these password keepers that we should have?
Well, there are a number of them. There is LastPass, which is available on multiple platforms. Personally, I use one called 1Password, and it is probably the best one that I can think of. It works on Windows, it works on Macintosh, it works on your iPhone and your Android. The thing I like about it on my phone is I can actually, instead of having to remember a password, I use my thumbprint. Really smart way to do it.
Which leads me to this. Our executive producer was wondering if thumbprints are good enough for iPhones, why don't we see that as a way of a piece of technology that everyone uses for all their devices?
Well, we have seen these thumbprint readers on laptops in the past. We've seen them on phones now. The difficulty is getting them everywhere. That ubiquity hasn't happened yet, but I think it's something that's probably going to be coming in the next few years. Biometrics, they're not just thumbprints. We're also looking at things like retinal scans, voice prints. They can be hacked, which is the difficult thing. So we saw something famously a few years ago with Bell where they had a system where my voice is my password. And someone simply recorded those words on somebody speaking on a radio and a telephone call, and they were able to hack that way. So nothing is going to be perfect. The hackers are always going to be on our heels. It's really having security that is good enough and also updated often enough that will keep you safe.
I told you that on my BlackBerry I had the password vault. I put all my passwords in there, and then I forgot the password to get into the vault. Everything's been wiped clean.
That's where a thumbprint would really come in handy.
All right, Graham, thank you.
My pleasure.